Hey, welcome to the show, everybody. Tonight, we will be talking about deep underground military bases. There are several well-known bases: Cheyenne Mountain Complex, Raven Rock Mountain Complex, and Mount Weather Emergency Operations Center that a lot of people know about. But there are several in North Carolina that a lot of people, they don't know about. And that's why we were lucky enough to have Mary A. Joyce joining us. She's the author of Underground Military Bases Hidden in North Carolina Mountains. And this book, she covers several locations that many people don't even know about. And these locations all throughout the U.S. have the ability to control equipment, troops, weapons. And while these bases, like I said, are hidden, they have fully capable of running everything in the military. And this is the thing that, like I said, I've had a real interest in this ever since we've done our episode on Denver Airport. We also talked about Cheyenne Mountain a little bit, but this one is looking forward to it. So author, editor, and show contributor Mary A. Joyce is next. Welcome to the Three Beards podcast. My name is Craig, along with Austin and Chris.
Passed to a new generation of Americans born in this century.
Let me out.
I'm afraid that is white.
Then live to send the innocent to their death? Is this justice and honor in Massachusetts colony?
All right, and at this time, I'm going to bring on Mary Joyce to the program. How are you tonight?
I'm doing real well. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Well, thank you very much. And I'm going to be flying solo tonight. Austin he's working kind of a graveyard shift right now. So he's currently napping, and Chris is, until I think about January, he's got track practice. So he usually misses the first show. So this one, but what we said, we will be talking about her book, Underground Military Bases Hidden in North Carolina Mountains. And I said, it's this one. I just got this on Amazon. I said for anybody, tons of pictures. It's not just, it shows maps, and that's one of the ones that we'll get into. It's, I think, in one I know specifically that you really want to talk about was the one in, it's the one
that's underneath the Smoky Mountain National Park.
Smoky Mountains National Park. That's what. Yeah, I wanted to make
There's
sure.
A couple reasons I thought that would be a good one. First, everybody in the country probably knows where the Smoky Mountain National Park is. That's number one. And two, we were having witnesses seeing the building of that one. So that's really the newest of the 5 that I've written about in the book. And so we were seeing evidence of it being constructed. You usually don't get that opportunity.
And before we get too far into it, you are the editor of skyshipsovercashiers.com. And this is a place that people can go. They can get tons of information on everything from UFO sightings to Bigfoot. And they can also get more information of yourself and everything from, like I said, witness testimonies, insider testimonies. He said lots of information on this site, and you updated it. I think it was just today. In fact, it says last update. So it's regularly updated.
Haven't even sent out the notices yet. I usually send them out to people. But you might want to click on something in the right-hand column, because you'll see once again that even though this is like an index on the homepage, it's full of pictures just like the book. And so
And
click on anything on the
click
right-hand side.
on the right hand side.
Oh, no, on the right-hand side.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, now the one you just hit at the very top, that's the one that just got posted, one of them that just got posted today. And what was remarkable is that a gal who monitors the International Space Station catches these incredible things. And there was something that looked like our moon that was between the space station and the Earth, which is totally impossible because
Yeah.
the moon, it's, it just wouldn't fit. And it's some kind of a phantom moon that's been created either by a ET ship or we have some advanced hologram technology with the government, and they could have been projecting a hologram. But that's a hologram of the moon that appeared between the space station and Earth, which, like I said, is impossible.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, there's, yeah, I mean, you've got just tons of, I mean, just anything for just, like I said, people, you can just go through, you can spend quite a while just looking through all the information. So definitely everybody needs to definitely check out that website and, just please, let her know you saw her here, just go. And I think if I remember right, there is a place for, that you can get, where do you go to, is there a subscription part? I'm trying to remember where that was at.
Well, where it's Editor's Corner, you can send me your email address and I can include you on our notification.
Awesome. So there we, yep, do that. So welcome everybody to the show, by the way. That's in here. We'll put ourselves in a massive loop if I don't watch that. Like I said, yeah, so it's going to be flying solo. So it's going to be a little iffy on me answering a lot of the comments. So it just, like I said, it'll be more just me saying hi to everybody since I'm just flying solo. But let's get right into it. So I can bring up a couple of pictures that I have too, because when we went into like deep underground military bases, like I said, most people know about the Cheyenne Mountain complexes. They know about. I brought up one. A lot of people. I'm not sure if a lot of people know the name of it, the Mount Weather Emergency Operations Center. I included that in the promo picture, but that's the government, emergency shelter where it has levels, and I think at the very bottom, I believe, is where the functional, remote Oval Office is. They're at the bottom of that facility.
So
and
we can survive. So somebody can survive if somebody drops a bomb or something.
Yeah, and for a lot of people that say, well, these, I've had a few people when you talk about these, they're like, no, they don't have. I'm like, no, these are literal places that here. Just the thing that's not known is just how many levels, how big the levels are, because some of these things are national secrets. They don't disclose this. But one of the things that, and I'm sure is the tunneling is incredible that they've done.
It's like
to
a
make
subway
these
system. They have a tunnel connecting system between these facilities, or at least some of them.
Yeah, and I'm, like I said, I'm going to try to get some of those pictures. But yeah, it's like you get these underground tunnels. There's one. Maybe you know exactly where's that. There's one that's rumored to be big enough for a 747 to taxi.
You mean the tunnel itself?
Yeah, the tunnel itself.
I do not know. I know that trucks drive through a lot of them, and there's room on each side of a big semi, but I don't know about the comparison with the plane. And I'm not an expert on underground facilities. I have focused on these in North Carolina because people didn't know about them. If they did, I wouldn't have written the book. I wrote it because it just wasn't common knowledge at all. We know about the ones out in the West, Dulce and underneath the Denver airport and Cheyenne, but nobody, for the most part, knows about the ones here in North Carolina.
So let's just start there.
I don't believe in writing a book unless you have something new to say.
Well, that's it's one of those things, especially because you do. It's like, why rehash the same information over and over again? It's like
right.
Yeah, I mean, if we want, we can even just start. For there, which one do you want to start? Which one do you want to start with yourself? I mean,
I'd rather start with the one under the Smoky Mountain National Park.
Yeah. So let's go. Let's start there, and that's for anybody that's
And I
following
was
along. If you,
really, really, really fortunate. The first man who let me know about this, I had already known him for several years and had every reason to find him to be very credible. So when he told me what was going on in the Cherokee area, he just proved to be a wonderful witness. And he and his wife both have military backgrounds, so they know the stuff. And it all started with their curiosity. They were just south of Cherokee, which is near the Smoky Mountain National Park. And there was this truck that had something that looked like a decontamination chamber on the back of it. And he and his wife um, pulled over and they got out and started talking to the driver. That at the bottom picture there is, if you go this way, that is a decontamination chamber. And this was being hauled, and they began to talk to the driver of this vehicle. She said it was a woman, and that she said that she was waiting for 5 other trucks and an escort, and this was the meeting place. Well, the other ones all showed up. They all had United States Air Force tarps over them, and the escort showed up in white SUVs, and the men inside were all in black with guns. And so this couple decided they were going to follow this convoy because the first driver said that they were going to a place between Tennessee and North Carolina, and then this load would be airlifted to another spot. There appears not to be a direct road to this facility. We can get above it. We've heard the sounds coming from the ground underneath it. We've seen the planes flying in and out of there, dropping cargo. We've seen these great big cargo planes, and they're coming out of the park, and the rear gate is still open because they haven't even had time to close it. There's been Osprey, which are those helicopters that have wings, and then they have the double blades, and they could actually drop cargo, train cargo type packages into the same area. So there was a lot of aerial stuff going on, a lot of grinding, pounding noises coming up from beneath the ground. And this went on for a couple of years. They closed one of the roads. It's called Hind-Toogie Road, and they closed that for 2 years. They said it was because there was a washout, which simply wasn't true, but that was their excuse.
is that the bridge right there? Is that the one you're talking about?
That's where it got closed. They got that. They went beyond that sign. The sign came down, and then nobody could go any further. But that convoy went up that road, and that's through a campground that's between the.
For anybody that's curious, that's the Ospreys that she's talking about right there.
Right, and you can see there's a Jeep dangling on one of those.
Yep, right here by me.
Right.
Yep.
Well, I'm glad you got the book in time for the show. That's wonderful.
I know it's not. As I was going through it, it's definitely, and that's because that's one of the things that's always been, we talked about prior to the show start too, is the logistics of where does all this material go to. And that's where some of the ones like Dulce Base, some of these ones are there. There's with the tunneling that there is some of these tunnels. I mean, these aren't rumors. There are some of these tunnels, but these ones, I'm wondering if that's just, if they're not transporting this material through that to another location coming out. And that's why you don't see these like remote, because like Dulce Bay, if you drive around there, you don't see anything. You see a bunch of just dirt roads, cattle fences. You wouldn't know that there's a military, that there's an installation somewhere in there. Same way with these ones, like you're talking about the Smoky Mountains. You look at that bridge, you're like, oh, it's just an abandoned bridge. Well, yeah, just on the other side of that thing, you go walking around, you're pretty soon going to find out that there is somebody there.
People who've gone around that area in like ATVs have been stopped by supposedly park rangers who just happen to be carrying machine guns. So, I mean, that's not a normal type of thing.
Yeah, it's not usually issued to your typical park ranger.
One of the stories that I like is there were 2 guys who worked at the fish hatchery in Cherokee. Now, mind you, Cherokee and the national park all come together. They share borders. And the water flowing into the fish hatchery was drying up. And so these 2 guys took it's like a narrow jeep path along the river, and they took that up the mountain to find out what was blocking the flow of water. And when they got to the very top, there's a reservoir up there. Well, this reservoir was totally dry. Somebody had installed a 50,000 gallon water tank, and there were pipes going from that water tank down into the ground. And yeah, that's a 50,000 gallon tank. And that was just buried in this reservoir. So the reservoir has always been filled with water. So clearly they were stealing the water that was going into the fish hatchery, and it was being pumped underground to that facility. So we found all sorts of different kinds of witnesses that, when you weave it all together, you go, oh my goodness, this just has to be the truth.
Well,
By the way, they got fired.
Oh,
Once
yeah.
revealed, they were fired.
Right.
So.
It's, for some administrative, thing, like they probably didn't do the paperwork correctly. It's just, it was some real bogus thing that they, turned up to get rid of them. But that's one of those things, because you see in some of these facilities that there's definitely, we're talking the NSA's data storage facility. They put that over in Utah under the guys that for the plentiful water is why they put it there. Nobody builds anything in Utah because they've got abundant water resources.
No.
It's because it's so remote, can't get to it. Same way with like this tributary. It's like most people, unless you're just a local fisherman, you're not going up. That's not a heavy traffic road, so it's not going to be noticed right away. It's going to be somebody going like that. It's like, wait a minute, this used to be a massive, body of water. Where'd it go? Well, it's like you said, the people that start talking about it suddenly start not talking about it because something's happened to them.
Right. There's another facility, and it may be the oldest one here in the mountains. That's my inclination, because it's a facility that's 6 stories deep into the ground. It used to be a Department of Defense tracking station for, during our Cold War. And we had written up about that. And after I'd written about it, I was contacted by somebody who lives in the area, and they said that there was activity going on there again. And we refer to this place as PARI. It's the Pisgah Astronomical Research Institute. And so we just call it PARI. It's known that way all over this area. And they pass it off as an astronomical research institute, but it's 6 stories deep. And I've had people with top security clearance confirm that. It's totally self-sufficient. And the reason I'm bringing it up, it has to do with the use of the dirt that's dug up. I was actually able to use Google after I talked to this person, and I could see where they were moving dirt, that they were digging another hole, and they would spread it out over the hills real thinly. So it wouldn't be a pile someplace. It would just be evenly spread. So that's one way. That's one way it can be hidden.
And that could definitely be that one where you're talking about, where it's the, we just mentioned a little bit ago, where all of a sudden it's like, this is what's happening to the material, because you have a picture of the mining equipment that's there that can dig, miles a day. So this isn't. Yeah, so I think you said something that was like 7 miles in one day.
Yeah, and it's a tunnel boring machine, and I have a picture of it in the book somewhere. And it's bigger than a train, and it's round, and it just bores through like this. Most people tend to think it melts the stone, and the stone then becomes a casing for the transportation vehicle.
Well, that would also, account for not seeing large piles of material.
Right, if you can melt it. So that's another.
If you could fuse it to the point. And I'm trying to find. I saw the picture. I'm just trying to find it to show people. But yeah, there it is. Thank you, Wes.
Now you'll see people on the right-hand side. That gives you an idea of how big this thing is.
So easily trucks could drive through.
Easily
through that.
Easily.
Yeah,
we're very confident that there is one of these tunnels that connects this Perry Center that I just mentioned to you and the Smoky Mountain one. Um, some of the evidence came through with people who just lived on the land where the digging was going on beneath their homes. And so for X amount of time, they would hear the grinding, they would hear the vibrations, they would feel it. And it would only last, for X amount of time. And then as soon as that hole was done, that was the end of the noise and the vibrations. But all along the path, we had different people reporting those kind of sounds as this progressed.
Yeah, and this is one of the this is one of the images that I wanted to bring up. Like, this is one I've seen for a while, and this is some of the reported, tunneling that's been done. And as you see, just right here, this is definitely shows that there's, these ones are speculated, and
And the ones I'm talking about, go back to where you were. The ones I'm talking about are to the left of that, so there's no indication of it at all, unless it's that one round circle that you just pointed to.
Possibly, yeah. And that these are the different facilities and the tunneling, so it's not even under the, I'm sure there's tunnels that go here to the Washington D.C. area,
Without a doubt.
But it wouldn't be within a realm of possibility. It's just you get on this thing and boom, you're completely underground transportation. So it's because that's one of the speculations has been, especially at the Denver airport, is that it's connected to Cheyenne Mountain. So people fly in a private, private and this is a nondescript plane, get in the private hangar, they're taken below there, and you never see them. And so people are, back and forth, and you'd never know that they were even there.
I'm pretty sure that's what's going on.
And because one of those, it's like you and me, as we're driving down, we're not going to notice if you see vehicles all the time, it's not going to be out of order. And, we go to the airport, you see vehicles whipping around the airport all the time. You don't think anything of it. You see a convoy of black vehicles, it draws your attention. And so what a better way than just have just a normal airport traffic.
Let me tie this together in another way.
Mm-hmm.
There is Masonic symbols and I'll just say Masonic symbols and messages in the Denver airport. That's been played up a lot. It's common knowledge for the most part. Here where we are with this facility on the eastern part of the Smoky Mountain National Park, there is a monument to the Masonic monument. So it's essentially right on top of where this facility has been built. Go figure.
Well, yeah, there's one of the two. There's a guy during when they were first opening it. He was back in kind of the non-public area, and he said it's some of the most ornate artwork and design work in these things. So why would that have been done that way if it wasn't?
And it's bizarre. It's not ornate. It's bizarre. So
yeah,
I don't know if it's still there or not. I certainly saw the pictures of it in the beginning.
Yeah, I know one of the murals. I think the one with the SS, like Nazi, ones. Some of those murals have been taken up. I think they're supposed to be reinstalled, but there's just so many different things that just the combination of them, and that's the wonderful thing about, it leads the mind to wander, what these are about. And yeah, that's, so what do you feel like the one you just talked about, the astronomical one, what would be the purpose of having underground levels for an astronomical thing? Because it's like, if your whole purpose is studying the sky, I mean, what's there to hide?
The astronomical thing, true, but that came later.
Yeah, that's
with the Department of Defense, and then it kind of came out and people in the area knew about it. And
so that was the cover.
And now it's a public astronomical place where, supposedly kids and college students can go, anybody can go there, but you can't go there just anytime you want. Sometimes the gate is locked and there's somebody who looks like they're in some kind of military garb guarding the gate. Other times it's totally wide open and it's, like you would expect it to be. So there's still bizarre things that go on there.
Yeah, and that's because that one for me is just, it sounds like it said that put the satellite dishes there as would be a great cover for why all these levels are there. And that's I'm, because you're looking at and you have several pictures of what looks like, UFO unidentified craft flying around.
Let me tell you who took those pictures, if my memory's serving me right. I got to know two men who were retired from the Air Force, but they weren't old guys. They just did their regular tenure. And they were exploring that whole area. And they were very convinced that there was a tunnel that connected Washington, D.C. up the Appalachians to this Perry facility. And they spent quite a bit of time, and that's one of the pictures they got where there was a UFO in that same area as the Pisgah Astronomical Research Institute.
Now, are those the ones that go by the squad?
Do you know them?
No, as I was reading through the book. That's what I said. Is that who it was that brought him? Was the squad?
Yeah.
No, it seems like I need to reach out and try to talk to them, because it seems like they've got some really interesting stuff too. I mean, it's one of those pictures. I mean, now with those ones when they took them, was that during like some of the noises, like the booming, that they appeared, or was that something like that? These pictures were taken like after that.
These are two different facilities. The one at the Smoky Mountain National Park is the new one where there was all this sound and evidence of building. The Perry facility is probably the oldest one, and it existed before as a Department of Defense facility, just monitoring satellites. That's what it initially was for. It's expanded since then. One of the people who gave me information had top secret information, said that facility had the ability, I'm talking Perry now, to actually wipe out memories and to do some other strange things there. And that may be the most bizarre place. For example, there was a man who, as a young man, had worked at one of the Christmas tree farms, and the people at the Christmas tree farm had seen animals in cages being carried into this facility. Another time I tracked a military vehicle through town, and it ended up at this facility, and it had something on its sticker. I cannot recall it right now. I think it's in the book, that had to do with psychological studies that would be used for like psychological warfare. But like I said, this one person told me they had the ability to wipe out human memory. My own experience, 2 different times I went there with other people in the car. And the closer we got to the facility, our minds started to feel really weird. And it's like, let me out of here. It's like you didn't want to go any further. And I call it people repellent. And I think they actually use electromagnetic impulses or pulses to keep people at bay. The same thing was experienced by another former military person who went to explore the Smoky Mountain facility. And as she was driving up the mountain, it was a beautiful, clear day. The birds were singing. Everything was nice. The closer she got to the facility, everything got quiet. There were no birds singing. There was no indication of any kind of animal life. And she said she began to get a really bad headache. When she finally went down the mountain, the headache disappeared. So the electromagnetic pulsing, I think, can be used as a deterrent to keep people away.
I think I found that tag you were talking about, where it was the U.S. Army Civil Affairs and Psychological Operations Command.
Thank you. I couldn't remember that for the life of me.
Yep, that was on page 9.
Yeah, and again, I just happened on that one. Somebody pulled into a drugstore, and I was next door, and the ID on the vehicle were just so weird. I checked it out.
Yeah, and that's, with the thing, that seems to be a common theme too, because I want to say like the HARP facility up in Alaska is the same way, where it's like there is not a lot of animal life around these locations.
Right. 'Cause
which
they didn't like that energy.
which it should be just a glaring red flag for everybody. It's like if birds are saying I'm not even going there, that should be a pretty well sign that there is a problem.
But there's always cover up. Um, for I think for a couple years, I was able to post things about, I called them the HARP maps. Um,
Mhm.
And you could correlate it. We would see the HARP map just blast into the white zone just before a major storm would hit. It's like they were creating weather, and we could see it on the screen. And I apparently reported that too often because you can't even get a HARP map anymore.
And that's, yeah, because I hadn't even heard about that until you just said that. And that's why I was just sitting there clicking over here. I was looking at it, and that's because I've always heard that rumor, just that, you could get these storms. Like we've done one on the large colliders where it makes you have massive lightning storms while these things are occurring around here. So it goes that there would be something that would definitely have this, type of interaction. But it's one of those, like I said, but you've seen these maps, and that's pretty compelling too. It's like if you've got this thing where all of a sudden it's popping up and you correlate, it's like it's on, this is happening at the same time. That's incredible.
Yeah, if you find that interesting, I'll go through my website and find the year where we were still able to get some of that, because it really did appear before major storms.
Yeah, further evidence too is like for people that, when you have doubters about whether or not there's actually these structures. I mean, we go back in history. Nazi Germany was huge into underground facilities.
Absolutely.
They built like crazy with these things. And then we bring all these scientists over, Operation Paperclip, so it only goes to stand that this technology came with them.
Yes.
And we embrace.
That's why we
embrace
wanted
it.
them. That's why we
Yep.
wanted them. We wanted to get them before anybody else got them.
And so Von Braun, he goes to NASA. So there's just as brilliant of a mind that's going in other locations, and so this is definitely something to this. And I mean, that's like the first one, like we talked about the Smoky Mountains. What is the main theory that is going on at this location?
I don't know what they're doing. It's kind of obvious that they're doing some strange things at the Perry Center. It just may be a military base. I do not know that. None of us have been able to talk to anybody who's actually been inside this facility. We've been all around it, on top of it. We've seen the drops, all of that, but nobody has spoken up from the inside.
And that's,
Which
for
we
anybody
did
that
do with Perry, we had 2 people from the inside speak up.
And for anybody that doubt, it's like, well, that means there's probably nothing going on there. Cheyenne Mountain is definitely, a thing, and we don't have a lot of people talking about what goes on behind those massive doors. So they've got something on people to ensure that they don't talk.
Okay, let me give you something else then, because there is a facility beneath Grandfather Mountain, which is also here in North Carolina. And again, a military person was able to take his group or his troops or whatever on a practice run around this mountain. And in the process, they saw a huge, like a garage warehouse door open up. And the door looked like the mountain. So when it was shut, you couldn't tell it was there. And when it opened up, United Nations soldiers came out of it.
So it sounds like the tech that they how they use the Site S4 in Nevada. That reported, like Bob Lazar talked about, where they have that same thing. It's like a doorway that opens up, but when it's closed, it looks just like the mountainside.
Right, and that's true of Area 51 too. Is that
And
what
so,
you meant?
Yeah, so and that would be something, because I know everybody has probably seen those photos of those the trains. They're just boxcar after boxcar just loaded with NATO. So wouldn't that be something that if this is actually like a staging point?
I think it's very interesting. Like the park technically is not owned by the United States anymore. It is owned. It is world. What do they call it? I'm going blank tonight. The world's. Anyhow, it's owned beyond our country, and so that is why the UN and some of these troops from like Poland or Germany have access to practice here in our mountains, and hunters and people hiking or on ATVs have seen these foreign troops. I learned about that before I ever learned about the underground facilities. So,
And that's the thing is I have never actually. I'm really fascinated because I'd never heard this before, and that's been, to me this is all new, and this is awesome. I mean, it's not awesome that this happened, but it's just awesome to learning about this.
yeah, and what I've done is my writing style is very condensed and to the point because I don't think most people have enough time to really sit and go through lots of gray matter. And so the book, as you've shown, has lots of photos, lots of maps, and I write in a condensed fashion. So it's not a big chore to read the book. And that doesn't mean it's not packed with information, because it is.
Yeah, no, it was a blessing. I got this today, and I would just started reading as much as I could. I got through about 18 to 20 pages before I had to break to come up for the showtime, and that was, like I said, but it's fascinating book. It's, like I said, it's really, really interesting that I've read so far, and I'm trying to find that photo so I could show people of those, because everybody's seen the long train lines of just loaded with. That's always been told it's just, we're just moving stuff for war gaming,
Right.
but it's pretty amazing when you actually see NATO, emblazoned on the side of something, and it's like that shouldn't be over here.
Right. And it is.
And that's, to me, that's one I'm going to really definitely. What was the name of that facility again? Because I want to look into that.
Which one? The one under the Grandfather Mountain?
Yeah, it's like under
It
Grandfather
doesn't
Mountain.
have a name. It's under Grandfather Mountain.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just going to write that down so that way I can check that one out, because that one is really, yes, that. And now, so, I mean, that would make sense to have these facilities connected too with the tunneling, because then you would have.
By the way, it's Mount Mitchell is how
Mount
it's
Mitchell?
listed. Yeah.
I appreciate that. So Mount Mitchell, we'll look into that. Yeah. So that has there been any sighting, like from the squad? Have they had any sightings around that mountain as well? That
We're talking about UFO sightings now.
Mm-hmm.
We've had UFO sightings all over these mountains. There's been a whole lot of them around the Perry facility. In fact, there is a lake that's just to the west of the facility, and I have not seen this, but I've had witnesses tell me they've seen UFOs go in, disappear into that lake. It implies there's an underground entrance that way.
And then as we were talking about, there's a thing. It's on page 45 about Mount Mitchell in your book there. So it's for people that are looking here. So yeah, because that was one of those. It's fascinating. I'm just trying to think. Does it seem to be that they're connected to these bases, or are they do they feel like it's just a UFO observation, like they're actually just being? Because we've always seen the ones where, like a nuclear test, you've had the UFO sightings around as we're doing the tests.
Right.
So are they observing these locations, or are they actually based there, kind of like S4 Area 51?
I really do not know. I know it's very common for UFOs to be seen over these facilities, so that's a given. What they're doing, I can't say for sure. They could just be monitoring it. When I lived in Florida, we often saw UFOs like around nuclear facilities and around military bases. And so they simply may have been keeping an eye on us, because I'm not sure we're trustworthy.
Yeah, I know Austin, they I can't. The name of the area is going to fail me, but they saw one over here when he was growing up. Something landed, crashed in this field, and they went back in NASA and had it shut down and scrubbed, and now it's a part. Now it's been built over
Yeah.
the site, but it was when they had that too, and there's been definitely some people that have seen some stuff here that I know of, and so because we're based here in Central Florida ourselves, so
Where are you?
we're right outside the town of Winter Garden.
Okay, I know where it is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I
we're
worked years and years ago. I worked for the Orlando Sentinel. I also worked for Brevard Community College, which has changed its name now, but it was over by the Space Center.
Mhm.
So I lived on the beach between Patrick Air Force Base and the Cape Canaveral or Kennedy Space Center, and so I saw a lot of things there. Got to know Clark McClellan, who was an astronaut, and he was a friend of. I guess you get me when I'm tired at night. I can't remember anything.
I know. Apologize.
So anyhow, I that's where I really began to get interested in this stuff because I would see the UFOs. I would see them during the launches. You would sometimes see them. So yeah, there was a lot going on. That was where I learned a lot.
Yeah, I had
see
myself
on the
muted here.
screen.
Sorry, there was some noise on my side, and it was bleeding over onto the thing here. But
I
as
just see a sign on a question that says, "Are these bases related to the Greenbrier bunker?" I think that's so outdated now that you can get a tour through the place. But at one time, it was state of the art place for people in DC to escape to if they needed to.
I know Mark, he had a couple of one of those things too, and that's because there's been one of those things, and it's like for me, I'm just local. Do you feel like local law enforcement is kept in the know, or do you think that they are
No,
basically?
I personally haven't seen a great deal of even interest from people around here who are in the military. I mean, in the police. I don't really think they do.
And that's what I was wondering, because you always have that thing. It's like I wonder if it's just because they've been told, under no circumstances, when you see these vehicles roll by, just let them keep rolling. Don't
Right.
it doesn't matter.
I think it could be that simple.
Yeah, because when you're some small town sheriff, a small town police chief, you're really not going to want to stand up to a convoy, like you said, of guys wearing black that come out, automatic weapons, telling you
No,
exactly why you shouldn't have pulled us over.
right.
Yeah,
So
and so yeah,
I really don't think for the most part that they know what's going on.
I know it's one of shows. I don't know. Have you watched Stranger Things?
I have not.
Oh, you got to watch that. That's one of those. It's because it makes your mind like everything from Stargate, and Stranger Things is one where scientific experiments, they're trying to drill into another dimension.
Mm,
And so, you see some of these bases and just your mind goes through. It's like, what are they doing down there on level 5, level 6, that you're not supposed to, because that one picture. I mean, if that doesn't just depict like what you would picture like out of a movie, this abandoned road with the barricades that, it says, bridge out. Well, then you go there and you find out that the bridge is in fact not out. And when you get over there, there's a couple of park rangers telling you why you shouldn't be in this part of the park.
right. And my understanding is that a lot of the park rangers have been told that if they see anything unusual, they're not supposed to talk about it, not supposed to acknowledge it. And if they're asked, just to say they haven't seen anything unusual. I get a kick out of the way things are covered up. And let me give you another example that makes me kind of chuckle.
Oh yeah, go.
They have made the park a no-fly zone now, the Great Smoky Mountain National Park. And the reason is because they are reinstituting the elk into the park, and they don't want the elk to be frightened. All right, that's their excuse. What's really funny is the main road that goes between North Carolina and Tennessee is very active, lots of traffic, and right next to the visitor center, it's called the Oconaluftee Visitor Center. You see elk there all the time, and the people get out of their cars and they take the pictures, and the elk don't have any problem with the noise, they don't have any problem with the people, they don't have any problem with any of it. So it's just a bogus excuse.
Well, yeah, that's
Just bogus, and it's so stupid. You just go, come on, give me a break. And then they say the road was closed for 2 years because there was a washout. Well, there was no signs of any kind of flooding or, downpour or anything. But that was the excuse. They can just make stuff up, and most people apparently will just accept it without questioning. And we can't do that anymore.
yeah. When that's just it. It's even me. I mean, it's a lot of times in the woods. I'm used to the type of thing where you'll go through there and you'll see a sign, road out, just something, because it's just some, okay, it's not maintained, so you find another way, but you don't think about the fact, like some of these ones, it's like where you yourself, you put this information together and then you're like, yeah, I remember seeing that road closed sign and I couldn't figure out why, and now it makes sense, and you put it together why, Bob was telling you about the 3 trucks he just saw rolling up the road, and he's like, what were they doing? I'm like, I don't know. They went up the road and I never saw him again.
Right. And that there's been a lot of reports like that.
And on your site, have you compiled a lot of those too? Like those eyewitness testimonies for this? Because I didn't see a lot in the book, when I skimmed through that part.
Compiled what?
Like these testimonies, like, because is that on your site?
It's mostly in the book. I've done some articles that are scattered around, but because they're scattered, it's hard for people to find it, and so that's why I did the book.
Yeah, you can pick this up, everybody. Like I said, the one we're talking about, underground military bases hidden in North Carolina mountains. You can pick. It's easy to get on Amazon. I clicked it, and like I said, I got it 3 days later, delivered right to me. So it was really surprised. And
this show is being brought to you by Amazon.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because Amazon. Yeah, but yeah, there was one other one I was really wanting to get. I was talking to. I don't know if we touched on it yet. It was the Chimney Rock.
Okay.
The Sugarloaf one.
First time I went there, it was a little gravel road with lots of hairpins. And when you get up to the top of Sugarloaf Mountain, yeah, there's only just a couple houses, and I got to know one of the people who lives up there, and just beyond where I think it's about 6 houses, there's something that what you just flashed is actually looks just like that right there. That's the road to it. This right, I'm pointing like they can see that thing in the middle. That's
bigger there.
Right.
There.
That looks exactly like a nuclear base,
silo.
A nuclear silo. And the woman that's up there, she said one night there were all these lights and stuff at the top of the mountain, and they dropped heavy equipment on the top of the mountain. And when they went back, she and her husband would go across the fence and check things out. It had all been resodded. So they had done something during the night, and then they had put sod all over it. All different kinds of trucks will go up there, and they will go in shifts. They'll go up there and they'll drop people off, and maybe 3 days later, those people will come back down the mountain. So there's some kind of a shift thing going on underneath the ground there. That was my first experience just going up this unbelievably remote road. But since then, it has been widened. Major electrical poles have been put in, the kind that you would have for a stadium with the cement poles rather than the old electrical poles. The cables that were put in there were enough to light a city. And so with only 6 people at the top of the mountain, that power was certainly being brought up there for some other reason.
Yeah, because obviously that's not something
That's
that
not
you
normal. That's not
no,
normal looking at all.
and that's yeah, and it is. I mean, if that's not like a typical cover up thing for military when you do something, it's like that doesn't stick out. The fact that once we have dirt, now all of a sudden you come up there and it's brand new sod. I'm surprised they didn't put a playground set over there and call it. It's like, hey, we were building a park.
I was interviewing this woman in her house, and we were in the dining room, and we could look out to the road through the window from where I was seated. And there was one of these unmarked vehicles that came by real slowly and stopped where her house was. It went up a little ways, came back, turned around, and stopped again. It's almost like they knew I was interviewing her about what was going on up there. It felt really weird.
Yeah, and that's the thing is too is it's in a way isn't it kind of like a double-edged sword? In a way, it is it kind of feeds your ego that that you're on the radar, but at the same time, it's also creepy the fact that you're on the radar and they're actually keeping tabs on you.
Yeah. Well, I know that for a fact now because I use Google Earth to explore Mars and Antarctica and underneath the ocean. And many, many times, once I post something like that, it suddenly gets blurred.
So
Happened over and over again. And one of the times it happened before I even posted it on the website. I'm going, okay, they must be watching it right from when I'm doing it.
So as you're searching, you've got a screen capture as soon as you see something.
As soon as I see something, because you may not see it like that ever again.
Wow.
But I encourage people to use Google. It's a great tool if you can get past this blurring process that they go through. I have found stuff on Mars that clearly look like contemporary space stations. Found one in the northern hemisphere, one in the southern hemisphere. The smaller one is roughly 600 feet long. The larger one is over 1,000 feet long. These are not old things. These are things that are contemporary now. I've gotten pictures of UFOs that have landed on Mars. They're quite big. These are all, this I've done with Google. So I encourage people to use Google Earth and do their own exploring.
Yeah, I'm wondering.
Now, this won't excite you, which is me, I guess. We have found cities, ancient cities, that are emerging from the melting ice in Antarctica. Anything emerging from the ice in Antarctica is over 34 million years old. That's exciting to me. Absolutely.
Oh, it is.
And some of those are getting blurred out too after we get the screenshot.
Was without getting in the whole political sphere thing here about global warming and climate change and stuff. One of the things like the melting ice. It's like this shows that this is a cycle because it's uncovering settlements that are under the ice, and we know unless there's some massive shakeup where the continents flew to the other side of the globe in an instant and flash froze, there's no way that this settlement was able to be in a short amount of time. This would have to be these way back. So we're finding farmland in Greenland. Like you said, when you're finding structures in Antarctica, I'm absolutely fascinated with that as well, because we know the Nazis had a huge fascination with there.
Now these things that we are finding are the results of surface civilizations. The Nazis built way deep in like old volcanic tubes and things of that, caves and things like that. And believe it or not, there are more volcanoes off the western part of Antarctica than any place in the world. And so
isn't that you wouldn't think that
you just wouldn't expect that in a million years.
Yeah, because I've wondered if the Nazis didn't stumble across something like you said, they found something like an actual, previous something that was there, because Hitler went all in, on this, get down there, I want to do this, and it wasn't just, most people don't just, I'm going to build a snow fort and go all in on it. So you had to have found something that drove him to, this was the goal, was to get down there. And so I wonder too, did he find something like an actual art?
according to von Braun, whoops,
Oh, you're
according to von Braun, he confirmed that Hitler did have a facility down there.
yeah, and so that's one of those, there's high jump. You don't take that kind of armada and military, personnel down there for an exploration mission. I mean, who takes 4,000 troops and material down there because you're doing exploring?
Right.
They were.
The part of the website I think you'll find the most interesting. If you want to pull it, if it's easy, if you can pull up that page.
Yep, bring it up right now here for everybody to see here.
Because we've been really busy this year, and go to the home page. Okay, down there, third from the bottom, it says global links. That's where you're going to find most of these things that we've just done a ton of stuff. We found this year, we found a ton of things. There's some of the remnants of the city coming up out of Antarctica. Stop, you see that little like crack in the snow there?
Mm-hmm.
That the pictures above it are within that crack. So we have a gal, her name is Mary Hall, and she spends a lot of time really, really searching. I'm not sure I would ever slow down enough to explore that crack, but she did, and those pictures above it are some of the things that she found.
Wow. There's just some, some definite, structures and stuff that are there that just is really, really interesting. I think that's one of the ones you're talking about, the Mars.
Yeah, that's not as exciting as some of the stuff we found on Mars, but anyhow.
So that's just, yep. Like once again, like I said, for everybody, it just go to your site there, skyshipsovercashiers.com.
Go real fast, and you'll get down to stuff where we found stuff under the ocean, especially off the western coast of California. Well, let's see here. Did we pass it? No, keep going. That stuff on, by the way, those are entrances into Mars. See the orange one with the,
Really?
I went differently. I tipped the planet and went from north to south instead of east to west when I was exploring that. I found 27 of those entrances in a line within 16 miles. And these are huge. They're, I don't remember the sizes anymore, but they're at least 400 to like 1,000 feet across in width. And
nature abhors straight lines.
Right.
So
but you only find those if you explore from north to south. You won't ever find that out if you go the other direction. And we tend to scan from, left to right. But that's just one of the things we found. Now, here's some stuff. I don't know if that's the best example. Keep going. This is stuff we found under the ocean. All right. Well, these are some of the things right off the coast of California. And they're huge.
Yeah, I've seen this one before, and I think I remember
that's the first. That's off of Malibu. That's the first one that anybody found, I believe.
Yeah, because it's one of those. I think if I remember right, somebody.
All right, now
mentioned,
look at this. No, go back. That one right there. That may not look exciting, but that is a footprint for a structure, and it's right off the California coast.
Yeah, it's
in the. These are in the water. In case I haven't made that real clear.
Yeah, and then there's it looks like a grid pattern on this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's so yeah, once again, like I said, everybody, skyshipsovercashiers.com. You go there and check that out. As well as, once again, amazing plug for Amazon. Go there and pick up her book, Underground Military Bases Hidden in North Carolina Mountains, written by Mary A. Joyce. So it's, well, as we're getting closer to the end, was there anything else that you would like to plug, direct people to, like, for more information about yourself?
If you've still got the page up there, there's Editor's Corner. If you open up Editor's Corner, you can click on information about my books. And there's a little bit of information about each one of the books that are in print right now.
Bigfoot Beyond the Footprints, the one we're talking about. Cherokee Little People were real and tangible evidence of Jesus left behind for us to find.
Right.
Plus the bio, and like I said, like I said, I definitely recommend. I said, and I've read. I said I read about 20 pages of it prior to here because I just got the book because I was a little slacker on getting it ordered. I thought, and I remembered I'm like it just in a panic ordered it and it got here in time. So I was happy. I was happy I got it here in time so that way I could actually start reading it before it came on.
Well, you're a good skimmer. You were catching a lot of stuff very quickly.
So yeah, well it's like you said, it definitely has a ton of information, and it's the way you laid it out is actually really, really cool. And like I said, it's not a difficult read at all. It's really well done. So congratulations and job well done.
Thank you. Appreciate it. It was a pleasure to talk with you.
Oh well, thank you. I'm a little bit fanboying. Just like I said, it's like you got people names in the business and it's like you get to talk to them and it's like really cool because it's stuff that I haven't done before in really learning. And this is one. Like we talked a little bit about.
We all get bored if we keep doing the same stuff all the time.
I'm a Coast to Coast AM fan. I've heard you on Coast to Coast AM before, and so that's So it's one of those people like they're like, what's that? And I'm like, no. If you listen to this, it's really cool. If I get to talk to people that have been on that show, it's one of those. It's like it's a red letter day for me.
It's the grandfather show.
Yeah, I was there from the Art Bell time to. So it was that's definitely one. So everybody please go check this out. Get the book, read into this one as well, support her in the work they're doing. Plus, go to the site Skyships Over Cashiers and, subscribe there, get to that way so you can get notified, as stuff's posted on there as well and support them. So, Mary, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Take you. I enjoyed it.
Appreciate it.
Best of luck in all you do.
Yeah, well, thank you, and we'll definitely be in touch. And like I said, because I definitely we can touch on the Bigfoot and also the Cherokee Little People. I said that'll definitely come up because, like I said, it'll give me another book to read too.
All righty. You have a great evening.
All right, you too. Thanks again.
Bye bye.
All right. And this is when we close out the show poorly because I'm not a very good producer for this thing. I usually have somebody else doing this for me. So everybody, this episode was brought to you by threebeardspodcast.com. Go check us out there. You can follow us, go to our gear shop. We can also get to that going through redbubble.com. Three Beards Podcast is there. That's where you can get merchandise for us. Or you can also go to patreon.com. Three Beards Podcast right there. Become a beardo. Support us. Help us out with that. Everything helps. We really appreciate it. We're still looking for a sponsor. So we are also rebroadcast on Patriot Radio and ERRT Radio on Wednesdays. Courtesy Ron there. He puts us on at 11-ish is when we get on there after we follow the amazing Into the Outer Realms people, Joey and Tanya. So they warm up the crowd and then we try not to lose them. So that's the goal there. So, but everybody, I want to appreciate everybody for watching. Check us out on all social medias. We're on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. If we haven't updated, I'll get to it eventually. It's one of those, but appreciate you guys supporting us there. Follow us, help us out with that as well. And just check us out on the social media. But everybody, I just want to thank you for watching. Appreciate it. We will be back next week with another show. Everybody, thanks again. Have a great night.